our third Q&A together.
Yes, it is.
Third time's the charm. Thanks for coming back to Dallas.
I've missed you.
Of course, I've missed you too. You complete me. So, the last time you were here was a fantastic build-up because where Arrow was at that point, it was where you had just kind of come back.
Yes.
And so, again, I think this week's episode is another great build-up because we've seen some really big things happen, and there's some huge tension coming up. So, I'm not going to ask for any spoilers, but is there anything you can tell us about what we can expect maybe in the next few episodes?
No.
No, okay.
No, there's, we have some returning favorites. Cupid is coming back to the show.
Cool.
Amy does a fantastic job with that character. I like that character. We are going to meet in a couple of later episodes a few villains from previous seasons that we haven't seen since then. And then there's that whole who's in the grave thing.
Right, yeah. Why don't you just tell everybody right now who's in the grave?
Guys, turn off your phones and I'll
Just
tell
make
you.
up. We'll put it out there, it'll go viral. It could be the wrong thing, you know?
I would say my only spoiler with that would be that just because it's something that we've teased since the beginning of the season does not mean that it won't happen until the end of the season.
Okay, good.
So enjoy.
Maybe not. By the way, I'm hoping everybody's caught up on Arrow because there's probably going to be some spoilers that we discuss here. But I really enjoyed the way you Vader Barrowman. That's something I saw somebody mention, and I thought that was a great way to put it. You Vadered him.
I Vadered him.
Yeah.
I cut his hand off. Well, he deserved it. Somebody was saying to me earlier, a family came up to me and they were like, but you should have killed him. Look at what he has done. Look at everything that he has done. You should have killed him. You should have killed him. Why didn't you kill him? And I thought about it for a second, and I think that my answer is something that I'm going to be able to use going forward. Good decisions make for bad television. Bad decisions, good television.
Well, and based on what just happened, I think you may have even more motivation now to get your revenge at some point, depending on how things play out.
Yeah, the dangling carrot of my son, my estranged son, and his mother in danger is something that we're going to address very, very soon on the show.
Another great standout episode, I think, this season was you guys did a phenomenal job of introducing Vandal Savage to the whole universe.
Yeah.
And the crossover episode with the Flash. I mean, it's got to be so much fun to shoot those episodes. There's so much going on in those episodes.
It's a ton of fun. We've had a ton of fun this year with the mystical elements, with the magical elements. Oh, a character that we have coming is Vixen from the animated series. So that's very exciting. And I mean, I've gotten to do stuff this year that I never envisioned being able to do. We have an episode of Legends of Tomorrow coming up called Star City 2046, which is exactly what it sounds like. And I get to do some things as Oliver Queen that I really never thought that I would do.
Yeah.
And we get to introduce an absolutely critical character in sort of the Arrow timeline that I don't think we ever would have been able to introduce on Arrow. So we get to do it on Legends.
How does it feel now that you've had the 4 seasons under your belt and, you know, being able to know that, I mean, because genre shows like this don't always get a chance to breathe, and you guys are really getting a nice run. So now that you've got 4 seasons under your belt, like, what is the feeling with the cast and everybody right now? Does it feel like you guys are, the best is yet to come, or what are you feeling?
Well, I'm getting excited because I feel like the show was built to be 5 years long. Now, it's not going to end after season 5.
Do you hear what Stephen Amell just said?
27 more episodes, we're done. No, it's not going to end after season 5, but we did build in a 5-year story. So to me, I feel like we're gaining a little bit of momentum right now, but we have a real opportunity through the end of this year and through season 5 to really put a button on that whole flashback story. There's so much stuff that we have to get done in the flashbacks that I almost feel like I'm putting off an assignment. Like, I talk to the writers every once in a while, I'm like, I've made a list of things from the flashbacks. Have you? No, we have. Okay.
I want to get to the audience questions too, because we got a lot of people lined up, but I did want to ask you briefly about playing Casey Jones in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm a huge fan. That really is like such a stinking cool character to be able to take on. So can you talk a little bit about what that experience was like, and was there a lot of freedom to interpretation on that role?
There was, and the thing that I like about it is that on paper, Casey Jones and Oliver Queen, both super powerless vigilantes, would seem like a similar character, but believe me when I tell you that I don't find any Oliver in Casey. And so it was a really nice opportunity for me, after 3 seasons of Arrow, and it's so difficult to schedule something during my hiatus because it's so short. The fact that I got to go and play that and stretch out a little bit was so much fun. And you know, for Turtles fans, there's really nothing that you're not getting in this movie. You're getting an awesome Shredder. Brian T is fantastic. Bebop and Rocksteady, and you know, from the Super Bowl commercial, it certainly looks like Krang.
I almost don't want to see more until it comes out because it's like
so
exciting.
There'll be one more. There'll be one more trailer. Yeah, we haven't really told the story of what it is yet.
Yeah, very cool. You got your hockey sticks skills down, I hope.
That's right.
All right, listen, I want to make this about you guys, so let's turn it over to the audience. We're going to start here, then we'll go here, and we'll go back and forth. Let's try to go as fast as we can because I know we got a lot of people in line. Start here.
Do you know who Artemis is, and will she be coming on to soon or later?
Who?
Artemis.
Artemis.
Yes.
I do know who Artemis is. I don't think that there are any plans to bring her on anytime soon.
Sorry.
Hi, my name is Elle, and I was wondering, like, what sort of martial arts what training you do to film the show, if there's any.
So the best way that I can put it is that you know, I do my training with my trainer Thomas up in Vancouver, and but for the show, one of the things that I've become more proficient at as we move through the seasons is the skill of fighting on television, the skill of fighting, you know, televised martial arts, I suppose, because I feel like fighting for the camera is a specific type of skill. If the camera is right there and the person that you're going to punch in the face is right here, there's a specific way that you should swing to make it look like that punch actually connects. And I've gotten to know that without having to be told anymore. I've also gotten a lot better at, during the pilot and during some early episodes of the show, we would have tons of time to put fights together. That's not so much the case anymore. I'm really learning those fights on the fly, and I'm really good at coming in, talking to or I'd like to think I'm pretty good at coming in, talking to our fight choreographer. Stephen Amell says he's excellent at, and having him say, here are these 8 moves, you know, pop, 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 pop. And okay, show me again. Pop, 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 pop. I go in, I kind of do it, I do a little bit quicker, and then roll the cameras. So that's something that I've gotten better at.
I'll say it, you are pretty good.
Thank you.
Try to make it.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I was wondering, how is it like to play a hero, and would you ever change that to play a villain?
Yes. I actually got a little bit worried. Because my first, 6 or 7 jobs, the only time that I wasn't playing a villain, I was playing a hooker. So you start taking long looks at yourself in the mirror, going, "Is there something wrong? Why are people identifying this one very evil trait in me?" I do enjoy playing someone that is heroic and that always strives to do the right thing, even when that doesn't always mean making the right decision. But some of my favorite moments for Oliver is when we see a flaw in him, when we see the elements that aren't heroic, because I think that humanizes the character, makes it a little bit more relatable, and I like making people mad.
I saw some dark stuff with you asking where Damien Dark was, so it was kind of a darker side of Oliver there.
Yeah, and that was important. There are a few elements of the character that, as we move through the show, and as we keep trying to push the envelope, you can't push it so far that you get away from the core elements of the show that make people enjoy it in the first place. I mean, you can certainly go to the well one too many times, but at the same time, that's the character. You know, I read online, I know a lot of fans were upset that, you know, Oliver wasn't truthful with Felicity, and I mean, I thought that it was fascinating, if not a lot of fun. Because it's obviously going to come back and bite him in the ass.
So next.
Can you shoot a bow and arrow? If so, good.
So awesome. That's like the best way to ask that question.
Yes. And yes.
Fantastic. Next. Let's keep all the questions.
I wish every question was like that.
Right here.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie, and I was wondering, how did you get the role of the Arrow, and how many more seasons do you think there will be?
That's a great question. I got the role of Oliver Queen because the show that I had been on previously on HBO was canceled. So it was canceled in late December, and at the time I was working as a guest star on Private Practice, and the role of, you know, the pilot of Arrow came up. Robbie, my cousin, told me about it, and was like, you should audition for this because, you know, they want me to audition, and I read it, and all I could picture was you doing it. It pissed me off. So you should definitely read for that. And I said, I'm sure I will. And the only thing that was unnerving about the audition process was how seamless it was. I was the first person to audition. Shortly after the audition, the director of the pilot told me that I was going to be cast as Oliver, but then I still had to go and test for the network and test for the studio and then be approved by the head of CBS, not just the CW. And so it was scary because it felt like everything was going so perfectly that I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. But then I got the call, and that was a little more than 4 years ago now.
Nice. Barry.
Do the stunts scare you? Yes, how, or no, well, no?
They do. The stunts are scary. I had a fight in Ninja Turtles with Bebop and Rocksteady before they become the Bebop and Rocksteady that we all know. And the guy that was playing Rocksteady, his name is Stephen Fairley, but WWE fans would know him as Sheamus. And Sheamus is utterly terrifying. And I had to run at him, and he had to pretend to headbutt me, and I was convinced that he was going to kill me. And then, of course, with Arrow, there'll be certain things where, you know, it'll be a jump or swinging down from a tree or something, and I'm always very demonstrative and going, you're going to let me do this, no one else is going to do this, it's me, it's not a double. But I'm kind of afraid of heights. So I get up there and I go, and then I try to look cool.
Right over here.
Hi, I'm Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina.
So supposedly Oliver and Felicity are gonna break up in the next episode, or something bad like that.
You know what? I saw you fish. You were fishing for spoilers earlier. Talking about things like they had happened, trying to get me to slip up. You won't catch me, Sabrina.
Well, is there anything you can say, maybe about like to give us hope in the next episode?
I will give you some hope, okay? Obviously, at some point this year, the chickens are going to come home to roost for Oliver, and Felicity will likely find out that I have, like, a 10-year-old kid. Oliver. And I'm sure, but I will tell you that if that happens, I promise that they will handle it like adults.
Nice. Go right over here. They just don't give up. Just tell us who's in the grave. Come on. Well, that makes sense. No,
I think it's a super interesting storytelling technique. And I don't enjoy the prevailing sense of dread that it has given both the fan base and, to be totally honest, the actors on the show, because nobody knows. When that scene was filmed at the beginning of the season, nobody knew. So that's been tough. That's been tough.
So like the reverse shot, there's nothing on the tombstone. You have no idea what's on that tombstone.
When I shot the scene, I went to the EPs and I said, do you know? And they said, even if we did, we wouldn't tell you. So I then asked them some questions and I said, okay, well, how should I react? You've got to give me a ballpark because I have to have something in my mind's eye. And they helped me with that.
Yeah.
Because we can't, the scene in reverse has to make sense, right? Because it has to fit in seamlessly whenever we catch up to when that scene took place.
Okay. Very good.
Who do you think would win in a battle, you or Zoom from Flash?
Took down reverse Flash, no problem. Someone hold him still and punch him in the face. Done. I hope that answers your question.
Fair.
By the way, this causes some controversy, right? But I always get asked, who would win in a fight? Green Arrow or Superman? Green Arrow or Batman? And of course, I'm always going to say Green Arrow. And I mean like always. Always, always, always. And then I caught some flack on the internet for saying that I would beat Batman in a fight. And part of it was caused by my own cousin who applauded the notion. Like, Robbie, you're being a dick. Sorry for my language, it really pissed me off. Like, I know you like Batman, but keep your thoughts to yourself. By the way, he's on X-Files. Watch it if you want.
Hello, I'm Nehemiah Knox. I'm the guy that did those Lights Up Saturday photographs for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have one question about, I'm an aspiring filmmaker, so I want to know how is it like working with multiple different directors and the process that you have to go through when they film one episode one way and the next episode a different way.
It's really interesting because we have directors on the show. We had a director who directs episode 415, and his name is Gregory Smith, and he is, I think, 2 years younger than I am. And worked with Greg Berlanti, our main executive producer, all the way back to Everwood, and is an incredible director and has a real eye for it and is so organized and highly efficient, and I love working with Greg. And then, meanwhile, our director on the episode that I just finished, Michael Schultz, is in his 70s, and he is a totally different tenor and speed. We've had James Banford direct an episode this year, and he's our stunt choreographer, or, is when he is not directing. He's also directing the episode that is airing this Wednesday. And so it's nice because I'm always excited when the new director comes in, but by the time we get to the 8th day, I'm like, when are they gonna get rid of this guy? And then of course I'm excited when they come back. So, and also one of the great things that happens on a show as you get into year 4 is we've had a couple of brand new directors this year that are from within our crew, both James Banford and Gord Virhall, who directed the episode that just aired. And Gord has been the director of photography on Arrow since season 1. And when he gets to move up and direct, that means that the head of the lighting department gets to come up and be the director of photography. So it's really neat to see, guys that were dolly grips with the camera in season 1 are now operating, B camera and C camera in season 4, and that's a hyper rewarding thing. I've been working on a gift for the Arrow crew. I've been working on it since 2012, okay? On Monday, from 3 o'clock until 5 o'clock, the Stanley Cup is coming to set. You guys remember the Stars won the cup, right? The Stanley Cup. It's mainly me taking a dig because they're all Canucks fans. Like, they're all really excited, like, is the cup coming, is the cup coming? And I go, yeah, how else is it gonna come to Vancouver? it's a double-edged sword for them, but they'll be happy ultimately.
What a guy. What a guy. Right here.
Hi, my name is Ian.
Hi,
What is
Ian.
your favorite Pokemon?
And you better get this right.
I don't know.
It's gotta be Charizard, right?
Is it Charizard? Can I tell a, since that was a question aimed at younger people that I wasn't able to answer, can I tell a fun story about my daughter? Yeah. So my daughter just learned to climb out of her crib, right? Which is, it's always great in the middle of the night to hear. So anyway, she learns to climb out of her crib. We put her back in her crib. The following morning, we say, Maddie, you cannot climb out of your crib. We're going to get you a big girl bed, but it is dangerous. You need to stay in your bed. Do you understand? Do you understand that it's dangerous? Yes. You going to do it again? No. Okay. Now, my daughter's just about to be 2.5. Maddie, why did you climb out of your crib? And I swear to God, she goes, it's my life!
Right here.
Hi, Steven.
Hi.
Please, first, say hi to my Olicity friends.
Hi. Oh, you asked me to do this last year, didn't you?
Yes,
Hello,
every year.
Olicity friends.
We are close to the 44,000.
Good for you guys.
Yeah, and my question is, could you please share some funny history with Emily filming a Olicity scene?
You know, working with Emily and being serious, one of the really nice things is that having shot so much content with her, I never get bored of it, and scenes are always super interesting. They never are what they appear to be on the page when you first read the script. And but as for a funny one, we have this running joke right now where right before a take, I'll just take my hand and I'll just go like that, which makes no sense at all until you work 14 hours a day with someone, and then it becomes incredibly funny. So just know that before any intimate moment, I have like draped my hands across her face like a spider. When there were two Felicities, when there was Felicity hallucinating, I thought that, I mean, the way that they did that, just in terms of technically, I thought was very, very interesting. But we actually got a great actor who has since been on Legends to come in and play either regular Felicity or hallucination Felicity. And it was just like, it was fascinating. It was a really, really interesting scene to do when I'm arguing and she's yelling and Felicity goes, "Shut up!" That was a blast to film.
Right here.
Out of all the annoying things Robbie has done, which has been the most frustrating?
I think we talked about it already. No, Robbie's not. I'll tell you, Robbie, he has a project coming up that we're going to be talking about more soon, and I think we're going to see some footage from within about a month or two. And that guy is always working. Always working. Like, he's on The Flash. He's on X-Files. He's in Toronto right now. He's filming a movie. And I'm always behind him, like, wait, what are you doing? And he's not annoying. He's just, you know, a little shorter than I am.
How you doing? I was actually wondering, I'm pretty sure sharing this experience with Robbie has had its ups and downs with you.
No, not at all.
But I was wondering, when you guys first started doing this, did you guys expect either Flash or Arrow to blow up as big as they did?
No, I mean, of course not. You know, we were going to, we didn't really become super close until I moved to Los Angeles in 2010. Because, you know, I am 7 years older than he is, and that's an interesting gap to have when you're 20 and he's 13. It becomes more palatable when, you know, I'm 29 and he's 22. No, we've had a blast, you know, and he is a guy that, especially when I moved to Los Angeles, that I really looked up to, because he had a way about him and he had a calmness about him, and there was an efficiency to his work and the way that he approached acting that I did not possess. I was incredibly analytical. I would totally outthink myself. I would get right into my own head, and he'd just go, "See job, book job." And I'd like to think that maybe there's a few things that he's learned from me, but I certainly learned that from him.
Hi, Stephen. I'm Alexis.
Hi.
So I was wondering, we recently got to hear Felicity's code name for the first time.
Yeah.
And when you were filming that scene where like you first say it and then you say, I was going to go with Oracle, but that was already taken. Was that an ad-lib line or was it actually in the script?
That was in the script. That was in the script. Yeah. Can I make a confession? I had no idea what it meant. I had no idea what it meant. And then the internet goes like that. So I thought it was cool. But no, that was written. There have been a fair number of ad-libs this year, and I never tried to steal away the script or to sort of bogart the scene, as the case may be. I always try to make sure that if they wanted to leave the ad-lib on the cutting room floor, it could be, so it's not right in the middle of something. It tends to be at the end. But they've kept a lot of them. And I will say that I was very, very grateful. There's a scene at the end of episode 15, and I was incredibly appreciative of the way that it was shot and cut. We tend to have a lot of cuts on our show, and sometimes things don't necessarily get the room to breathe because so much is packed in to 41 and a half minutes. But this particular scene is, it's like 3.5, 4 minutes long. And aside from cutaways to certain montage things, the camera never cuts off me. It's really cool. Yeah.
Right here.
Hi. I was wondering.
I'm delivering a eulogy. I'm not, I promise.
So there's Felicity and there's Thea. They're both dying. You can only save one of them. Which one would you save?
You're gonna good son me right now? No way I'm answering that question. You understand that I have to work with both of them on Monday morning, don't you? Why does my voice go up like 4 octaves when I get uncomfortable? I want to know. He would find a third option. I'd cut off Malcolm's other hand.
Hi, I'm Ariel, like the Little Mermaid, and I just wanted to ask you if there was anything you could tell us about your appearance on Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, the makeup took 3.5 hours. I have never been more uncomfortable because any time that I moved my face, it was like an exposed nerve. And after about 4 hours, I was really afraid that I was going to tear it off. And we get it. We get the classic goatee. That's cool. And we get a possible view into Oliver's future and the state of Star City. And we get a familiar nemesis, not in the sense that we've seen him before, but in a familial sense.
Make of that what you will. Right over here.
Hi, I'm a big Turtle fan, so I'm just wondering if we're going to get the witty repartee between Raphael and John Casey that we got in the first movie.
Yeah, they hate each other. Raph and Casey do not get along in this second Turtles movie, and that was really fun, especially because Alan Richardson, who plays him, is like a big, imposing, intimidating guy. And, he and I worked together on Blue Mountain State once upon a time. So we had it was nice. You should check out that movie, by the way. Those guys did a really good job. They crowdsourced the movie, they made it. I haven't seen it, my buddy Zach saw it, said it's really good. So it was nice that stuff and that antagonistic element between Raph and Casey, which is commonplace in in the comic books, and of course from the earlier movies, it was nice that I was able to have that with Alan because we kind of had this built-in chemistry. I hope.
There.
Hi, my name is Grant, and since you helped Barry fight the Reverse Flash, will you help Barry fight Zoom?
All Barry's got to do is pick up the phone. Or speed in and speed out and come get me. I'm always game for a fight. Yeah, for sure. I would help Barry. Always. Good guy, that Barry Allen. A little cheery for me, but good guy. I'm actually very excited. I'm a little bit behind on the Flash, but I of all the stuff that I've read and everything, them going to Earth 2 and everything, it's just been awesome.
Incredible.
Super good?
Absolutely incredible. Yeah, it's just so damn good. Sorry, come on.
That's how you really feel.
It's not as good as Arrow, but it's good.
It's not what I was saying.
Hi, my name is Angel. I wanted to ask if you and Emily ever got the MTV Shipable Year Award, and if you ever do that video you promised.
I know that the video has been promised. We have the Cokes. We have an idea. One thing that I will tell you, and this is not an excuse for not doing it earlier in the year, Emily and I have not been working together that much recently.
What does that mean?
Make of this what you will. Where's Sabrina asking? She's going to stand up again and ask for another spoiler.
Over here.
My name is Eric. Today is my 23rd birthday.
Happy birthday, man. I'm going to give you a tip. As you get older, you should start calling your birthdays based off of famous athletes. Like, so you just turned Michael Jordan.
It's not Michael Jordan right here.
Appreciate it. It could be your greatest.
So my question is, do you and your fellow co-stars ever refer to each other as your on-stage name when you're not doing?
No. John sometimes calls me Oliver every once in a while, but he immediately corrects himself. But no. We more have like nicknames, but certainly not our stage names. Diggle every time that he's Diggle. I just. That was not on purpose, by the way. I'm not talented enough for that to be on purpose. No, but every time that I see David first thing, whenever I see him first thing in the morning, he only calls me this once a day, but the first time I see him, he'll go, out.
Right here.
So this could technically be spoilery, but they did say that on Earth 2, Oliver is dead and Robert is the Arrow.
Yeah.
But if you, maybe on a different Earth, could play Oliver, what would you want him to be like?
Just totally different. Actually, you know what would be interesting within the dynamics of Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3, Earth 4, Earth -1? How does it work? It would be really interesting if he was just exactly the same. Like everyone else is totally different. He's just all curmudgeon-y and going. I can't even picture two Olivers who are just both equally like dour and pissed off and yelling at each other. Yeah, it would be interesting to play Oliver Queen as a different version, actually. So I'd leave that in the hands of the writers.
Why do you think the people of Arrow want you to take your shirt off so much?
When you're a little older, you'll understand. I would take my shirt if I didn't have 90 minutes of makeup and prosthetics to apply. And they have to paint in the abs and stuff like that. I'm kidding. Then I would be shirtless way more often. If it was just a matter of like pulling my shirt off and being shirtless, I'd be shirtless all the time. Great motivation because it's absolutely terrifying. But yeah, it takes so long. I don't know. It's kind of become a staple of the show. And again, Oliver's scars and his physique are kind of a roadmap. For where he's been. So it's an important part of the character.
He's not taking it.
It was the scene where I lost to Ross. That was just such a cool day. To understand, I really honestly believe that we have the most gifted, hardest working crew in all of television. For them to pull off what we pulled off, first of all, we're on top of Grouse Mountain in Vancouver. We brought in snow in case we needed it. We did not. It was snowing. And we're pulling off a fight and crane shots, and there's one shot when Roz and I are fighting that is literally 60 feet in the air, and people were like, "Are those digi-doubles? Is that whatever?" No, someone climbed a light tower and set up a camera for the middle of the fight. So to pull that off in a day with not a lot of sunlight to work with, I think it's the most incredible feat that we've ever done on the show. So from a production standpoint, from an effort standpoint, I think we pulled it off standpoint, that would be my favorite scene, maybe not for the season, maybe for the entire show. Pity I lost.
It's such a great scene though. I mean, it's so well done. Right over here.
Hi, I'm Tristan.
Hi.
We gave you a game show and a pen earlier at your photo op. We were told we could ask 2 questions each, well,
Okay.
1 each.
Okay.
So he's gonna ask a funny question, I'll ask like a smart question.
Okay. Can I get the funny one first?
Alright, it's another fighting one. Who would win in a fight, Rocky Balboa or you, or Arrow with just a bunch of boxing glove arrows?
I mean, if I could keep, which Rocky are we talking? Rocky 1 I destroyed. I mean, I always say that Arrow would win, but this might be the one exception. The Stallone that beat Drago in Russia on Christmas Eve is, I don't think that I can take that Stallone. Oh my God, he was frightening. Okay, next.
Okay, who and when will a new member of the Team Arrow come to the show?
We get an honorary member of Team Arrow with superpowers in episode 15. Whenever I like give a direct answer to a question that is sort of spoilery, everyone's like, "What do you want me to do? Just dance around them?"
Lobbing those grenades, though.
I love it so much.
Weird. All right. Name's Tanner. Big fan. Just wondering, can anyone else do the salmon ladder? And if so, can they do it as well?
David can do it. Yeah, no, make yourself right at home.
What's happening with you, Mark? What's going on? Why? You're the only thing right now between us, Look at these locks on this kid. Oh, how's your day? How's your day been going? Right? Early morning? You look tired. Are you tired? Fair enough, Mark. I need you to do me a favor and get the hell out of here, buddy. Round of applause for Mark. Hello.
It's good to see you.
So we can't have this panel without a moderator. I brought my own moderator. The leading lady of SmackDown, all the way from the menagerie of madness, the keep of chaos, the rabbit, ladies and gentlemen, Eden!
Hello. I don't know what the hell's going on. Hey, there it is. This is going well.
And we want it to keep going well. So we're going to keep going with your questions. Mark was just tired, so I'm here to field the questions.
Mark was garbage.
So, who's next? Who has a question?
Okay, again.
Burgundy! Can I call you Burgundy?
Absolutely.
Right.
Just wondering, can anyone else do the salmon ladder? And if so, can they do it as well as you?
No, well, yes.
I actually, Ollie, let me field this inquiry. I've been told that Barrowman can do the salmon ladder. I've also been told by Barrowman himself that Steven is a bad kisser. Thank you, Burgundy. That will be all.
I think the internet disagrees with you on that one. Okay?
Are you ready for your next question, Steven?
Okay.
All right. Who is next?
I'm Gideon, and I want to say, alright. So, do you know who's in the grave? And if so, Nick's dead, right?
I literally can't answer the question.
Allow me. What is your name?
Gideon, or whatever you want.
Gideon?
Gideon.
Did you know that Mercury and Venus have no moons? You know? That's the answer to your question. Next.
First of all, love the fake accent, Cody.
Gentlemen! I would like this man escorted out of the building.
Hey, you can stay.
Oh, look at this outfit.
Look at yours.
I want to get up close with this one.
Okay.
Okay. For the question, have you ever heard of a breath mint? For real though, who's in the grave?
Look, can I...
What's to say, when to say, Green Arrow go one on one with Stardust. But that is not why I'm here. No. Why I'm here is this gold bodice, this Slammy Award. Steven, Celebrity Moment of the Year. Wow! I am a man of my word. I need a pin. Somebody give me a damn pen.
All right, well, we're getting Stardust a pen. I think it's very important to know that once I have the Slammy, I'm going to sign it as well, and we're going to raffle it off for a young gentleman named Elijah Mainville. WWE superstar Drax Shadow is his alter ego, and I think that we'll raise a good amount of money. We're going to go to through his YouFund page or YouCaring page. Details on my Facebook page. Thank you. It's no class. That was the rudest thing that Robbie Amell has ever done. In all seriousness, I'm glad that I have my Slammy. I totally beat him at SummerSlam, and if he wants a singles match, all he has to do is ask. Robbie, come up and moderate the panel for God's sakes.
Is this one on?
Someone give me a towel.
Which side are we on?
What?
This side.
I'm Nathan in first. My sister's in the third row. I think she'd like for you to say hi to her.
What's her name?
Abby.
Hi, Abby. Hi, how you doing? Do you want to come up here? No, don't answer that question. God damn it. Did you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Since Supernatural and Arrow are both CW, what would you think about a crossover between the two shows?
I think it'd be great. The two leads, what are their names? Oh, jeez. Oh, God, they're both from Texas. Oh, everyone's gonna turn on me. Oh, I'm gonna get splashed with 6,000 cups of water. What a dick that guy is.
I wouldn't have done it if you weren't already splashed.
Right. Okay. I'd beat him in a match, right? I'd beat him in a match. Wow. You know,
This is so cool.
don't touch it. I'm not allowed to touch the belt. Robbie won our fantasy football league this year, and you know, the trophy is a WWE Championship belt. You know, an old school one, and I'm not allowed to touch it, so you're not allowed to touch my Slammy. Especially since I'm only going to have it in my possession for like 3 days. What was the question? Oh yeah, Supernatural, that'd be a great idea. That'd be a great idea. We're both in Vancouver. Logistically, I don't think that you could actually cross over the worlds in like a meaningful storyline necessarily, but that's not to say that I couldn't show up on Supernatural or Jensen and Jared couldn't show up on Arrow.
Also, the fans would give it a pass, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't have to hold bearing on storyline. It could just be something really fun.
I'm going to keep my beanie on despite the fact that it's wet. Normally when I get dunked with water on Arrow, it is absolutely freezing. He just hightailed it out of here, didn't he? Alright.
Next question. Steven, congrats on the Slammy.
Thank you.
Yeah!
So, and you know, the problem is that I'm not a violent person, but I have a hair-triggered temper, okay? So I'm going to try to get through the rest of the panel without dropping an F-bomb. Or, I know that there are kids here. And actually, you know what? Let's just earmuff it for a second. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, keep going.
You handled that with class.
So at least one of us did.
Alright. Will you tell us that we failed this city? Emphatically.
So, where would you consider us to be right now? Because I don't want to get it wrong. Like, I don't know if this is like technically Dallas or if we're in Fort Worth or Irving or we're in Irving.
Irving, Texas, you have failed this city.
So have you really? Probably not.
Back on the ring.
Hi, Mr. Amell.
Hi.
My name is... Hi. Oh, hell, I forgot.
Oh, that would have been great. That would have been great if that was like the Indiana Jones scene where he goes, Dr. Jones, and they both go, yes. What's up?
Well, she said I can't ask my original question, so I'm going to ask you a different one.
Okay.
It is
Now
my...
I'm curious.
Well, my son thinks that I'm going to ask you what your favorite color is, which we probably know that one.
Blue.
So, could you give a shout out to him on his birthday? This is his present. You are his present.
How old is he?
27, and he's sitting right over
Hey.
there.
Wait a minute, what?
Stand up, Scotty.
I'm trying to do the math on the first question now. Where is this person? Oh, hey, man. Hey, come on up for a birthday high five, yeah? Yeah! your mom first. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah!
Well, you're most welcome. What do you think I was going to say? Green? Oh, it's blue. It's my life.
All right, Steven, we got one more question for you coming right over here.
Okay. Who's moderating this?
One more question, unless I need one more question, and then we'll do one more question.
Hi, my name is Kareem, and I was wondering, do you think the CW would have taken you in if you didn't have abs?
What we're gonna do, what Robbie and I are gonna do, since our voices are somewhat similar, is we're gonna duck underneath the table, and one of us is gonna answer truthfully, but you'll never be able to pin it on me. Ready?
Absolutely
No.
not!
One more question, one more question, one more question. Maybe.
My dad and my Aunt Juju are sitting right there, and I'd like you to say hi to them real quick.
Not a question, but an acceptable way to end things. Where? I can't see anything.
Right there.
Oh, hi. Dad and Juju. I hope you both have enjoyed the panel, and honestly, Irving, Texas is my 3rd year here. I love it here. My wife is from Texas. I got in trouble on the internet because I like Texas. I love you guys. Thank you so much.